Guys, we are live. Welcome back to the Conquerors crew. I have an awesome guest, as I almost always every week have awesome guests, and they just keep getting better every week. We have Jen Benson here today, and she's got a book that we're going to talk about. But guys, before we get into it, I always kind of set the stage for the people that aren't familiar with Conquerors Crew that may be new. And if you are, I like to remind you of what our three pillars are. And they're really simple, but I like to do this because it kind of sets the stage of the podcast. And I think that's important. So, let's just get into it, man. So the first one is hope. The four-letter word hope, not any other of the four-letter words. And for us, hope stands for helping other people excel. And that's what the Conquerors Crew is about, is maybe you show up and you need a little hope, and hopefully you get some, for what you need. And then sometimes maybe you're having a good day and someone else needs one and you give a little bit back. And so that's kind of what the crew is about, is, sharing the hope. And then the other one, there's two more. And the second one is grit. And grit for us stands for grace, resiliency, integrity, and teachable. All right, so grace. So what I find is that for most people, grace, it's much easier to give another person a second chance and some grace. And I think it's just kind of a little reminder to say, hey, give yourself a little grace, man. Don't be so hard on yourself. Don't beat yourself up so bad, right? And that's kind of what I like to say about grace. Resiliency. A lot of people think, oh man, either you have it or you don't. You're born with it or you're not. I think to a degree, you could be born. You have some resiliency traits about you, but it can be learned. And here's the deal. You don't start out running a marathon. You start out little by little, right? You're going to start with a walk. And it's little by little and step by step. And you build your resiliency just like you would build your stamina. It's the same kind of thing in my opinion. So these people that say I wasn't born with it, that's a cop-out. No more. Can't have it. And integrity, right? Integrity to me, okay, kind of in the same perspective as grace. Pretty easy to call somebody else out going, hey, you kind of crossing the line. You're like, you breaking the rules here. But at 3:00 in the morning, when you're looking at yourself in the mirror, are you having integrity with yourself? Are you being honest with yourself? Because when I had cancer for the third time, that's what I had to do. I looked in the mirror and I was like, you're losing weight and you are sick and you are pale and your cheeks are sucked in, and dude, you better do something because you're dying and this is going to get you. So that's kind of what, for me, integrity. And then teachable. Just always be teachable, right? We're always learning. I don't care how old you are or whatever. And you know what? The thing that always kind of works this way, when you're a little cocky and you think you know something, you get knocked right off your high horse, don't you? And you get humbled again. And then the third one is no quit. And I think that kind of just speaks for itself. So it's hope, grit, and no quit. And so those are our three pillars of the Conquerors Crew. And I just open the floor up with that pretty much every show. And so, hey, I'd like to introduce our guest. Okay, this is Jen Benson, and she has authored a book. It is called The Impossible Shift, right? You can get it on Amazon. And we'll give you the link for all that kind of stuff and everything. So now that I've been talking for 4 or 5 minutes and most people are kind of asleep, Jen, tell us how you are. We ease into this thing. How's your day? How's your week? What's going on?
The day is good.
Love it.
I loved listening to you talk about your pillars and everything. It got my mind going with thoughts, and I remembered a story. If it's okay for me to share this story.
Absolutely, please.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
sure.
it's a little embarrassing. Well,
oh, good. We like those. We love those.
So I didn't get my degree until I was an adult. And when I decided to go back to get my degree, you know, a lot of people told me, you know, don't have very high expectations. People like you don't tend to do very well, you know, whatever. So I was like, okay, that's fine. I'm still gonna try to go get my degree. So I go to the university and I sit down and they're like, okay, you need to take this test. So it turns out it's a freaking math test. And I'm like, I'm like 35 years old. I don't know anything about math tests. Give me a break. So I took the math test and did not do well. So I went back and, you know, the dean there sat me down and he was like, well, you program. I translated that into you're too stupid. And so I sat there like, what do I do now? And I was like, so what are my options? And he was like, well, you don't have any. And you're not in my program. And I was kind of taken aback because I'm like, but I had this dream of going to school and I was going to have my degree. And so I didn't want to move from the chair. I was just sitting there frozen solid. Like if I got up from the chair, that meant I was giving up on the dream. Right. But what are you going to do? You can't stay there. But this amazing thing happened. Another dean had overheard the conversation. He comes over and he's like, you want to go to you want to go to this school? I was like, yes. I want to go to this school. He said, come sit and chat with me. So I went and chatted with him and he told me about his program. And he was like, it's more business focused, but it teaches the same things as the other program, just with a business emphasis on it. And I was like, that's absolutely fan-freaking-tastic. I love business. Me and business are best friends. And cool. He was like, great. Well, you still have to pass that test.
Okay.
He said, but you have a whole semester to do it. And he said, if you can get it done in the whole semester, you're going to be golden. It's a pass or fail. You'll take a class and then you got to take the test and you got to pass it. And I was like, okay. And so from that moment on, I was absolutely 100% determined that I was going to pass that test, even though I didn't know anything that was on. Like I said, I did not do well on the test. So I went, I asked for a tutor. I had this very young person teaching me stuff. And I was looking at her like, I don't know what was happening right now. And she was like, all right, just stay with me. And so she would break it down and kind of explain it in a different way. And eventually I was like, oh, okay. So the A and Y is C. Got it. I think I got it. I'm finally figuring this stuff out. And I passed the test.
Good for
so you. Once I passed the test, I was officially in the program. And then from that moment on, I had said to myself, well, if I could do that, and that felt impossible, surely I can do these other things too. And I can pass these other classes. And I did. And I kept passing them, got on the dean's list. Wow. And eventually graduated from that university with magna cum laude status. And the dean that had originally told me I was too stupid. I mean, he didn't say those words, but that's what I heard.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Came over to me and he apologized to me. And he told me that he was wrong. And he said that it would have been an honor to have me in his program. And if I ever wanted to go back for my master's, he would gladly accept me.
Wow.
And yes, it was a validation, but I will never forget that moment when I'm sitting at his desk and he's telling me, no, ma'am, take your little butt out of here.
Ah, that's a crusher, man. And look, that's a beautiful story. I'm glad that you told us that story. That to me, that embellishes what the Conquerors crew is about, right? Overcoming obstacles, whatever your obstacle may be, for your day, for your moment, for your month, for your whatever. So Beautiful. That's so cool. If you don't mind, kind of give us a little background. I'm from the South, right? And so from the South, we like to, for lack of a better term, the 20 questions, like, where are you from? Where'd you grow up? How many brothers and sisters you got? Like, what do you got a degree in? Where do you live now? Are you married? And, what is your job? And what do you do? But we don't ever ask how much money you make. That's rude. Okay. Right? You don't do that one.
Don't ever do that. Don't ever do that.
I'm teasing you, but if you would, tell us a little bit, like, kind of, just give us an idea, like, where you grew up and a little bit about, like, your family, just a little bit about the Jennifer before now, right? Just a little summary.
Absolutely. So, so the book that I wrote, The Impossible Shift, is a memoir. So it kind of tells you a little bit about my history. I was born and raised in New York City, in the downtown Manhattan area. Wow. And it was an interesting life because there were a lot of unwritten rules about how things were and how they were not, and what you could expect and what you shouldn't expect. And, like, I give you another example.
Sure.
I remember I was about, I think 8 or 9. I can't remember. It doesn't really matter. But I'm riding on the bus with with one of my aunties, and I'm telling her, like, in my own little 8-9-year-old way, I want to, when I grow up, I'm going to be a singer. I want to travel the world. I want to go to Australia. I want to, do all these things. And I had, these big dreams. I'm telling her all this stuff. Like, This is what I'm going to do. Yeah. And she looked at me with all the love in her eyes. It wasn't like she was saying this from a place of hate or anything, right? Eyes. And she was like, "Oh, poor mamita. It's good to have dreams, but you really have to temper your expectations. I mean, the reality is you're probably just going to end up being barefoot and pregnant. So what you should focus on is finding yourself a good man who'll take care of you and provide for you. And that should be where you put your priorities. Don't worry about all that other stuff. Those are just dreams. Those will fade with time."
Wow. Some people, that is their dream. It doesn't sound like that was your dream.
No, I literally had just told her what my dream was.
Yeah, I mean, like, right? Yeah.
And so I say this not because I'm angry with her in any way, but she was kind of a motivator for me at that time to say, that's not going to be my life.
Right.
Now, granted, some people tease me because when I tell that story, they're like, "Well, don't you have 2 children and aren't you married?" I'm like, "Oh, you know what? Those are facts. Let's not muddy the water with facts, okay?"
Fair enough. Yeah. So, are you still in New York City?
No, I live in Maryland now with my family.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I got you. Cool. The guy that I had on last week, Dan Cohen. You might, some of these us podcast people, we all kind of run in the same circle. He wrote a book about his father having an awakening with dementia. And
oh, wow.
He's from New York City, and I think it's Brooklyn area, and so I apparently you don't know him.
I haven't. I have not heard of him, but I'll have to look him up. Sounds like a good story.
Great guy, man. Wonderful guy. I had a great podcast with him last week. Wrote a book that's won awards and all sorts of stuff.
Nice.
Kind of wild. His father, had the slow kind of dementia thing, but he had like a 2-day came out of it. And Dan is a very good writer. And so he wrote about, the book is about that. And so, neat deal. I just wondered. I mean, what is there, 20 million people in New York City? And,
we met.
Hey, you might have passed each other,
we might have.
So, wow,
Yeah.
cool,
Yeah.
cool. So did you grow up brothers and sisters, big family? You know, Dan was like,
Um,
we always people were around. I was never alone. It was a big concrete jungle
yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
am the oldest of four. So
Okay.
my younger brother and then my two younger sisters. But my younger sisters are 10 and 12 years apart.
Okay.
So they are in a different kind of like,
Generation.
yeah, we didn't understand them. My brother and I were like, I don't know what you two are saying.
Now, was this because was it with the same parents, or did your parents? It
They're
was
same parents. They were together for 40 years before they passed away.
wow,
They
wow.
even
So
passed away 6 days apart.
you know, you hear about that. They just really probably sound like they were just kind of like, well, kind of like what marriage they say. You know, you
Yeah.
forget about yourself and become one. Yeah.
It's the craziest thing. I to this day when I think about it, I'm like, I cannot believe that they went, just I was able to put them in the ground the same week.
Wow. I mean, that must have been hard. Like it, boom, boom. But it was
Mm-hmm.
it kind of. I don't know how to say this, but was it kind of like a blessing that it was kind of like if you ever seen Where the Red Fern Grows? I don't know if you know that movie. You know,
Yeah.
it's about. Have you seen that movie? Do you know that old
Yeah,
movie?
I've heard of the movie. I don't work I
Yeah,
recall.
where like is a family that old country movie and the dog and like I think there's two dogs that are on the farm and one of them dies,
Yeah.
and then like the other one died of sadness basically, right?
Yeah.
And then the fern grew between them, right? The rose kind
That's
of fern,
so beautiful.
and
Oh
so
my
that's kind
god.
of what it makes me feel like when you say that your parents 6 days apart. It's like, you know what? They're just like, you know what? I'm not going to do this place here anymore. I'm going wherever your mom
Yeah.
and your dad. Well, it's like
Yeah.
I'm not being here. I want to be with them. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah,
Are
and I
you
think I think that
Christian or?
I'm a Christian. I believe that that
Yeah.
there's some validity in that. They both had cancer, so similar to your story,
Sure.
but theirs it was by the time they were diagnosed, they were already stage 4.
Oh yeah. Were they older as well? Were they older?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it was one of those things where you didn't see it coming, and then it came just like a
Wow.
smack in
Was
the
it
face.
pretty quick? Was it pretty quick with the
It was
cancer?
like 2 months after the
Whoa.
diagnosis.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
it was
quick.
very
That's
fast. Yeah.
fast.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, wow. So was it your mom or your dad that had the cancer? Both of them had cancer.
Both of them.
Both of them had it at the same time.
Yes.
I know that the
Yes.
podcast isn't about this, but if you don't mind, what kind of cancers did each one of them
So
have?
my dad had lung cancer,
Okay.
and my mom had multiple myeloma.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And which one of them went first?
My dad went first.
Right. Do you think that your mom was kind of brokenhearted and like, I just don't want to be here without him? Do you think
I
that
think
was
that might have played a role
sure?
because I remember her saying, it was like the day before she passed away. She was like, your father's here hiding and he's waiting for me. And I was like, what? um,
Wow.
yeah,
Maybe she kind of felt his spirit because, Christians and Holy
yeah,
Spirit, and maybe,
yeah.
yeah.
Because we hadn't told her that he had passed away. We didn't want to disturb her.
Oh, wow. Whoa. Okay. Cool. Well, I
And
guess they're probably both in heaven hanging out, probably having a blast,
hanging
watching
out,
me and you
having
have a
margaritas.
conversation about them. How cool, man. How cool.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
I think they're having a good time.
Yeah.
So they're
That's really
probably
neat.
happy.
That's
Yeah.
cool. That's cool. Thanks for being open and sharing that. That's, yeah, that's cool.
It
That's
was
neat.
it was harder when it happened, but it's been about
Oh,
6 years now. So I I like to remember them in that way, you know, that
Yeah.
they wanted to be together in the end, which is kind of sweet. You
It,
know,
it
they say
really,
till
it
death do
really
you
is.
part,
It
and then
sounds kind of beautiful, you know? Yeah. I would like if I had the chance, that's kind of the way I'd like to do it, you know? But God, I mean, I did a lot. I chose, the career and the single thing, and I traveled all over the world, and and I chased,
yeah,
and I did, and I loved it, and I'm happy. I'm happy doing that.
yeah,
And yeah, I'm still single, so to speak. At this point, glad I wasn't with anyone when I went through all my cancer stuff. That would have been really tough. Or kids in a family. My gosh. So
yeah. That would have been hard, but I
oh
mean, you
yeah.
know, everything it has a time and a place, I guess they say.
That's right. That's right. And usually with me, like God has a really good, awesome sense of humor. And most of the time, things with me usually kind of seem to happen at a different time than what happened with kind of the norm. And so, hey, I might get married when I'm 60. I don't know. You know, I
Right?
don't really care.
You never know, right? And that
I'm
could
not
end
worried
up
about
being
it.
really sweet too. Could you imagine?
Hey, man, I've never been married either. So,
Yeah.
yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. So, well, cool. Yeah. So, what took you from New York down to Maryland? Career, your husband's
So
career.
I joined. Yeah, I joined the Navy,
Oh,
and
okay,
yeah,
nice.
and then when I joined the Navy, I ended up in California. So
Okay.
this story is actually pretty funny, because I ended up in California. My husband um, was in North Carolina, and he got the desire to join the service too. So he also joined the Navy, and he got stationed in California.
Okay.
And I met him in California.
Okay.
And the first time, he found out where I was, from, that I was from New York City, he said, "Oh, so you're a Yankee?" And I was like, "What?"
Okay.
I said, I never heard anything like that in my whole life. I was like, but I'd never really gone anywhere. I'd only been in New York. I was like, "Did you just call me a Yankee? And was that an insult?"
Oh goodness. Oh wow. Sounds like he started out in a hole a little bit of a hole there. Sounds like you gave him a little bit of grace, maybe.
I did give him a little bit of grace. So that's how come we're still together
Wow.
23 years later.
Wow.
So it's been a good journey with this guy. I look at it as fate put us together, because we never would have met otherwise.
Right.
Right? Because I'm a Yankee and he's a Southerner. Apparently, that's the thing. I
Now,
didn't know.
where is he from?
North Carolina.
Oh, okay, okay. My brother lives in North Carolina,
Yeah.
stationed in the service there.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And so it took us going, across to the other side of the country to find each other.
To meet over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the way over
All the way
there.
over
Oh,
there.
oh, over
Come back
there.
over here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Wherever over there is,
Yeah.
that's where
Yeah.
we went.
Yeah,
And,
man. I get it. Wow. Wow.
so,
Well,
so yeah, we,
yeah.
we, we got lucky. We've got two wonderful kids, uh, and I got to put this story out. So it's nice.
Now, how long has your book been out? Because it's available on Amazon, right?
Right. I just published it in December. It
Oh,
was on
okay.
December 4th of last year, right?
Yeah.
It was in honor of my mother's death anniversary. Is that a thing? Um, Death
Okay.
anniversary, because she had been a really big focal part of the book, because the
Okay.
book is not about the past, and I didn't paint her well in the book, and
Okay.
she knows that, because when before I had written this book like 10 years ago,
Okay.
and before I even thought about putting it out, I had her read it, and she was like, "Just read it to me, just read it to me." So I was like, oh my God, that's so awkward. I didn't say nice things. I was like, but this doesn't. She was like, just read it to me. It's fine.
Wow.
And so I'm started reading it. I'm getting emotional. She's getting emotional. We're both like, "Mwah." And at the end, she's like, you've got to publish this. And I was like, what? Did you just hear what I read? Like, were we in the same
Right.
room?
Okay.
I said, but I didn't paint you out very nice, very, very well in these stories. And she says, that's my cross to bear. And
Oh.
I couldn't believe it. And I couldn't bring myself to publish the book until just recently. So that's why it came out in December.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Now, because my understanding, right, is that this was your journal, like daily journal, or you journaling, and it became a book, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And was that the time, this time that you were reading it to your mom? Is that when you kind of realized that it was going to be a book?
When she said I should publish it, it planted a seed.
Okay.
At that time, but I still wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna turn this into a book. That didn't happen until way later, after I went through it and looked at it, and I had to take out a lot of the ugly stuff and keep it more. It took a lot of iterations before it became the manuscript that everyone sees today, but it still has the heart and soul of it, because it still tells the story, but it's more structured. It's less like a journal than it was when it first started.
Sure. I totally get you. I've been a part of 3 book collaboratives, so I have a chapter in 3 books about my cancer journey. And yeah, I mean, from the first thing to I probably rewrote the first chapter, the very first book 4 years ago, probably 10 times. I mean, right?
Yeah, because I think when you first write it, when you're first writing it, you're coming out with all the blah, right?
Well, there is that too, yeah. And I think it's a healthy thing to actually just get it out, like, get it out one way or another. And I think writing is a really good way to do that. I think it's a healthy way to express your feelings, right? And it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt other people until you read it to your mom. Oh! Point for Trenty. I'm not. Hey, I'm so glad you got a great sense of humor. I mean, I'm just joking. I'm teasing you. Just have a little fun. Hey, we work hard doing these things. Behind the scenes, it's so hard doing these. You got your own podcast. It's so much work. So good. Well, gosh, yeah. Well, that's just that's so cool. Wow. I'm just kind of curious, and I don't want to put you on the spot too much, but like, can you give us one story of something that you took out that shouldn't have been in there, kind of something?
Oh, something that I took out.
I don't want to push too much, but you got me curious. Like,
so anyone who reads it will notice that I reference my sisters, but I don't actually tell there's no actual interaction. There's no story involving my sisters. And I did that to respect their privacy, because it's my story, but I mean, it's their story too. Yeah. And they didn't give me permission to share it. So it was pulled out.
Fair enough. I've helped a few people write their stories and their chapters with these book collaboratives that I've done. And one of them had some abuse in the family, right? Then, it was a brother and a couple of sisters, and they had been abused, by, one of their parents. And he wanted to tell about it, and one of the sisters was cool and the other one did not. And so navigating that, it would, kind of trying to help him navigate through that, I mean, it just got to the point where he's like, you know what, I'm just gonna not even, I'm just gonna do a pseudonym, and it's someone else. It's my story, but you know, like I'm just not gonna.
And that's how
Yeah.
you respect that's how you respect the agency of someone else.
Yeah.
It's not your story to tell, so
Yeah. Hey, man, you know, and that's really the right way to do it, isn't it? You know, tonight, you want to respect someone. You would want them to respect your wishes about something, and you know, I mean, you know, if you want to call it karma, but you know, I just think I would do the same thing, right? I wouldn't want to put something out that offended someone, that, you know. So
yeah.
I get that. Was it hard to write around that stuff, or was it kind of like, okay, no big deal? Like I just kind of don't go there, and I just, you know, kind of just skip over that bit and just keep going.
I just skipped over it like it never
Yep.
happened.
Yep. Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Sometimes there is time jumps, and you know, I was like, there's just gonna have to be time jumps because some stories aren't meant to be told. Like, so I did talk about in the book. I talk about the church that I went to that ended up being like a cult, and but I don't go into like the nitty gritty of the cult's existence or how they went, because a lot of people were harmed by that situation.
Right.
You know,
Sure.
it caused a lot of good people to have questioning faith because, you know, they believed it. I mean, I believed it, you know, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, what do I believe now? And
gosh,
so that's why I kind of I mention it, I reference it, but it's glossed over almost completely. So it's a story that doesn't get told, and I know, I wonder if anyone's going to be like, well, whatever happened with that church? but so far no one's asked about it. But well,
interesting.
You never know.
I mean, does the church still in you know, active, or has it kind of gone away?
It's gone away. So what was interesting though is the way the church philosophy was once you were a member, you had to forsake, for lack of a better word, anyone who wasn't a member of the church. Because if you weren't a member of the church, then you were going to hell, and that's it. There was no middle ground, no gray area. So if you weren't actively recruiting this person, or if the person says, I have no interest in being in the church, then you would not be able to associate with them, because that's like associating with evil people, right?
Yeah.
And in the same way, if you decided for whatever reason to leave the church, they said it's like a dog returning to its vomit. You would get shunned. And so when you first go there, you're isolated, right? Because you've already shunned all your family and your friends.
Right.
And now you leave, and all your whole network of the church members, your church friends, your church family, your church life is all gone.
Right.
Just like that. And you are left with nothing. No family, no friends, nobody. So it's very hard to leave a situation like that. And so I don't go into it in the book, but it was something that was a difficult transition to go from being a leader in the church to being outside of the church.
Yeah. Can I ask you about what age were you when that was going on?
I joined when I was 15.
Oh, wow. So, you were very impressionable. Man, okay. Now, were your sisters or any of the other family involved in this church as well?
I eventually recruited my mom into the church.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so it was my mom and I were the only two members of the church.
Oh, wow. So did that cause some turmoil between the family, and like, you know, like you and your sisters, or your mom and your dad, and how did How did
Yeah,
that?
because
How did you navigate that?
everybody else
Yeah,
was, you know, like,
you're like you're living with Satan, right?
yeah, it
I
was
mean, wow. How
it
do you?
was crazy. It was very
Wow. How
hard.
did you?
It was
Yeah, that sounds
yeah.
tough to navigate, man.
Yeah,
Gosh.
and then they were trying to decide who I should marry. It
Wow.
was a lot. It was a lot. So
Wow. So did they want to like pick someone out for you that was in the church? That was a
yes.
member of the church? Okay. Yeah. I got some Indian friends that, because I've lived in New Zealand. I lived in New Zealand for almost 20 years, and I've lived all over. And so I've had some Indian friends that, have some of them have had the arranged marriage thing. Worked okay. Some of them didn't work. Some of them like ran off. Just like, I'm out of here. I'm not doing this.
Not doing it.
Yeah, and then he kind of got, it's like shunned from the family. He kind of got. It's really sad, man. It
Yeah.
really is. Yeah. But yeah, I can see. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. Well, the book's not all about that, right?
It's not that at all.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, but hey, this is interesting. I find. I'm having a great conversation with you,
Yeah,
and
me too.
and I find it fruitful. Um, but if you don't mind, let's talk about the book a little bit.
Okay. Yeah.
And
So
so, give us a
go ahead.
summary of what the book's about, and kind of give us a little overview. Yeah.
Uh, so so as I said, the book started out as a journal, but the idea
Yeah.
of the book is to show you through real examples how change is possible through agency when you make a decision to choose differently for yourself.
Okay.
Because oftentimes we believe that we are making choices, but we're actually giving our choices away. And we're saying, well, it's someone else's responsibility. It's someone else who's to blame for this,
Mm,
rather than saying, okay, well, what can I do to change my situation? We understand that circumstances happen to you, like no one's trying to negate that, right?
right.
Um, things happen to us all the time, but it's how we choose to respond to those situations that we have control over.
Yes.
And that's what makes the difference in like the overall change that you're looking for. So like when I start out the story, I'm saying, the impossible shift from mean girl to meaningful life. I started out, as a bully. And eventually I realized that I didn't want to be a bully anymore. But that bully armor was really hard to take off
Mm,
because it was protecting me. And it was
mm,
protecting me so fiercely that taking it off was like heavy weights, really difficult to do. And
sure.
so I made mistakes along the way,
Mm,
while I was trying to take off to take off that armor
right.
and become a more authentic version of myself, and not just the version of myself that felt like I had to treat other people poorly to make myself feel better.
Right.
And so the book kind of takes you through that transition and shows how just simple shifts. This isn't about change overnight. We don't really change overnight. Human beings don't
Doesn't
work
stick.
that way.
Yeah.
It's slow, it's
Yeah.
sometimes painful,
Yeah.
but it's intentional, right?
Hmm.
And so when I say to myself today, I'm going to be a better version of myself than I was yesterday. Well, what does that mean? I'm going to be a better version of myself today than yesterday? What does that look like? What actionable thing can I do, um, to create that for myself? It's not
Yeah.
just it's taking your feelings and turning your feelings into steps that you start moving towards. So you have a goal. Okay, well, I made a goal one time when I was, really depressed. I was going to smile more. Like it was very painful to smile because I didn't feel like smiling.
Right.
That's why.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you
Almost
know those
hurt.
smiles. No,
It,
those smiles they hurt your face
it
because you don't
hurt.
want to do it, and everything your body's like, don't smile. I hate you. But
Mm,
eventually, you start rewriting the narrative in your head, and you start feeling like that smile is more natural and it's more genuine. And
yeah.
then you start noticing people respond to the smile and you feel good about that. So you get good positive energy from other people, but you're not depending on that energy from other people. You're creating the energy yourself by making the choice that I'm going to smile more. I'm just using smile as an example. I'm not
Yeah,
saying
hey,
go out
that's
and smile and
perfect.
oh, your whole life will be better.
Yes.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying
I'm
it
with you. It's a
starts, yeah,
simple, very simple, good example. Yeah.
yeah. It just starts with a,
Neuroplasticity, right? It's a, that
yeah,
this is the new buzzword, neuroplasticity, and
yes,
that's basically what you're saying in a very simple example that people can grasp and
yes,
understand, right? Doesn't have to be
yes,
complicated.
yes.
So very cool. I like it. I like the way you just break it down, easy, simple. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. I thought that was a great example. But
I'm glad you feel that. Yeah,
yeah,
because
yeah,
it really does work, and it it's not some people say, well, I tried to smile and it didn't work. Okay, well, it like it's just gotta you just gotta keep doing it until it works because it will work. um, with
growing
time,
pains hurt.
right? Everything that's worth doing is worth doing. Is
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah,
why it's worth doing, right? If it wasn't
yeah,
worth doing, you wouldn't be doing it. But
yeah.
someone said to me, someone said to me, I want to be rich. I said, well, what does rich mean to you? And they said, it means I have a lot of money. I said, what's a lot of money? And they looked at me like I was crazy. And I was like, what you just said is abstract. Tell me something real.
Yeah, yeah.
How will you
You,
know if you've reached this level of rich if you have no marker in place
you
for
haven't
what rich
defined.
is?
Yeah, you haven't defined it. Yeah, if you haven't defined it, you can't get there.
Yeah. And they were like, well, I just want to have more money than I know what to do with. I said, okay.
Did
Let's
that
try this
person?
again.
Did that
Yeah.
person ever? Did the penny ever drop for that person?
So eventually they came up with a number.
Yeah,
And I said, okay, now you have a number. Now you can start doing work to get towards that number. Because before that, these abstract ideas, I want love. Okay. What does love look like to you?
yeah, yeah. And don't you believe that? The idea. I believe that you have to write it down.
Yes.
Like it has to
Thank you,
become
Trent.
real.
Yes. You
That's
have
why.
to write
That's
it
why
down.
you can't say yes. I'll buy that house. Thank you. That's why you go sign paper that
Yeah.
makes it like from here to here,
Yeah.
and then it's real. And I believe that that happens with speaking too. Like you can have thoughts all day, right? But if you don't tell yourself, "I'm gonna smile more," hey, me, I'm talking to you,
Exactly.
me. I'm talking to you, me and myself and I, all three of us. We're getting together and we're gonna smile more. I mean, I think I identify so much with what you're saying about how I beat cancer because I didn't believe I could. I had less than a 5% chance. I had pancreatic cancer for the third. That was my third cancer. And I had 8 or 9 surgeons in about 2 weeks. I was like, all the ones in the public health care. And I'm like, well, these guys just don't want to be on my team. So then I went and I paid $400 or $500 to all the same kind of doctors. And I booked a private appointment and they told me the same thing.
Oh.
So I had 8 or 9 doctors within about 2 weeks go, you're not going to live a year. You're going to be dead. You have less than a 5% chance. You have to come to grips with the fact that you're not going to be here in a year and figure out what you're going to do. And you need to be preparing for yourself. And why are you staying here in New Zealand? you should go home and be with your mother and father because we've met them and they're lovely people. And you should spend time with your folks, your final days, than being down here working on your business because it's futile. It doesn't matter. And I'm thinking, well, shit. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? I got a year left. Well, I'm going to go travel. I'm going to go see something. I'm going to do something. Guess what? It was COVID. You couldn't go nowhere. You couldn't do nothing. So, after that, man, I was just like, I think that I have just run my course out here. I just don't have anybody left that wants to be on my team. And the treatment was better here, but I didn't have the insurance. I didn't have the money. And I wasn't going to come home and bankrupt my family because I was going to die anyways. I was like, I don't want to, it's just, that's futile. And so is this. It's like, but then we figured everything out. Like we figured out a way and I got really, really, really expensive insurance. But you know what? There was a number and it had a limit, and that limit didn't bankrupt me or my family, And so anyways, but I know what you mean. Cause I got 9 or 10 people, experts going, you're gonna be dead in a year. I got a report. That I could show you. And I have to go, no, you're wrong. No, that's not right. And then I gotta, cause I'm facts, man. Facts, practical, systematic, that thing, that's me. Just like, realist, I'm real. It's half a glass, it's half a glass, If it's half full, I like to say it's half full. Well, it used to be a half empty for me. And that I did. I had to retrain my mind. It took me 9 or 10 months every day, listening to preaching or positive songs or positive affirmations or miracle stories or reading the Bible or just finding some guy with some crazy story on the internet that beat cancer out of some wild something, just something. And I had to cut out my negative friends. If it was negative, I cut it out of my life. Done. Nice. And so, yeah, the neuroplasticity thing was, I just kept telling myself. I was just like, I'd ride around in my car. I put on my favorite song. It was my favorite song right then. Ride around by myself because you couldn't talk to nobody because it was COVID. And I just go like, I'm going to win. And people are like, well, how are you going to beat cancer? I'm like, I don't know. But here's what's beautiful. You don't have to know. You don't have to know the plan. If you're convinced, right, if you have built those new neural pathways in your mind to the point where when you go and see the doctor and they go like, well, you're not going to make it. And like, doc, I will be one of those 5% that does. I will make you famous. And they just look at you like you're crazy. And they're like, you're kind of crazy. I'm like, yeah, doc, I like to think I'm crazy good.
Telling you.
Instead of crazy bad, right? Because we all are a little bit crazy. Right? Sure. We all kind of are. Yeah. And I really identify so much with the things that you're saying and using those kind of techniques in my life that work, that I beat less than a 5% chance.
Exactly.
I'm one of those.
You're a testament to that, to what I'm talking about. Exactly.
That your system that you say that you have, I use the same kind of thing, and it works, man. It works. Yeah. So that's cool. Well, tell us some other cool stuff about the book. Yeah.
Oh, other cool stuff about the book.
Yeah. Well, let's see here. Okay. So, we got a few notes in here, right? I always ask people to give me a few notes. And so, we talked about kind of like the moment that you realized, right? Mm-hmm. How about this one? Like it says, what the impossible shift actually means in real life. Tell me, explore that for us a little bit.
Okay, so I think that was kind of where I was going with.
Sorry, I took over the show. I'm so.
Oh, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
What you just shared is is what I'm talking about. So like I didn't create this idea of the shift. I'm sharing the impossible shift. It's something that has existed before time, but I'm putting a name to it, right? I'm giving it a name because right now we don't recognize it for the power that it has, the power of our choice, the power of our agency. And when I say agency, I'm talking about willingly giving your power to someone else, and we do it very, very often in our lives,
Yes.
in our circumstances. Couples in relationships, they'll say, I'm staying with him because he loves me, but maybe he's abusive, or maybe she is unfaithful, but they stay together. They stay together because of fear,
Yeah.
not because there's they're calling it love, right? Because love is the word that makes the most sense. But is that really love for
Fear
yourself?
of the unknown, and rather stay in a comfortable, miserable spot than push yourself outside in a fearful unknown kind of thing.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But real love is acknowledging your own value, your own worth, and your own choice, and saying, I'm choosing to stay in this relationship knowing that so and so is abusing me, or knowing that so and so is cheating on me. I'm trying to be gender biased here, or non-gender biased.
You're listening.
Um and and once you say that and you acknowledge that this is a choice that you're making, it changes the lens, because now you realize that you've made this decision to stay, and now you have to live with the consequences of that decision. Before, you didn't make any decisions, you just were staying in the relationship because of love.
Yeah. If you don't mind, this is so crazy. In the book that I wrote, in I had a chapter in each book and kind of told my cancer story. One of the things for me was I thought I lost my power of choice. I couldn't. I couldn't. I had no control over what was happening. Right? These cancer things that were happening. But you know what? I had the power to choose how I was going to deal with it, how I wanted to react about it. And I made the choice that I wasn't going to let these guys choose what was going to happen in my life. I was going to take their input as an expert and put it into part of my formula, and I was going to decide what I'm doing with my life, not
Exactly.
them, because the power of choice is always yours. And if you give that to someone else, no one, you can't do that. You can't
Yeah,
do it.
and
But
if you had given away your power of choice, right, and you would have said, I have no choice, I have no choice, but to listen to these doctors, you wouldn't be here. We wouldn't
correct.
even be
And I
having
did
this
it for 2 years.
conversation.
I did it for 2 years. I did it for 2 years, and I got cancer 3 times.
Yeah, but
It
now
didn't.
you're here because you said, you know what,
I flipped.
I'm
Yeah.
choosing to hear you, but I'm still going to fight for my life.
And you
That's
know what?
that's what we're talking about.
And you know what? The power of choice had to also, which hurt, was to realize I have to take some responsibility because
Hmm.
of the choices that I've made along the way have also put me where I am.
Yep.
And that was hard to accept because we want to blame someone else. But here's the other side of that. It hurt really bad, that was like, God, I've done this to myself, right? I was reading this book. I was reading a cancer book. But here's what's so beautiful. If you had the choice to put yourself into that position, you also have the choice to get yourself out. Boom, baby. You know?
Yes.
And that's it, right? And that is when the hard work starts, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, I have, do we have time for one more story?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like I've kind of taken over,
No, you haven't. I've
you know
loved
what?
hearing your
Like
story, and I loved how it is so in alignment
yes.
with the impossible shift methodology. It is fantastic.
Yeah.
But when you talked about taking responsibility, it made me think about this story. So,
Yeah.
when my son was in the third grade, he'd come home one day like really distraught and low spirited, and I'd never seen him so sad before. So I was, immediately mommy bear kicks in, and I'm like, what's going on? And he starts saying these things about himself that just sounded awful. He was like, I'm small, I'm weak, nobody likes me, and blah 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 blah. And my heart I wanted
Mm.
to, like, I was so angry, and I said, where is this coming from? And so he told me that he had a bully. And my first instinct was like this rage, because I wanted to go to the school and like tear it all down, say, let my son get bullied. But then I was like, center myself. This is a learning opportunity for both of us, right? So at that point, I said, well, I said, I'm gonna, mommy's gonna tell you a story. And he's like, okay. He's like got tears in his eyes. And I said, did you know that I was a bully? And he looked at me like shocked, like he'd never, like,
Yeah.
you? And
Yeah.
he was like, you? And I said, yes. And he was like, why? And I said, good question. And I said, because sometimes children, when they have difficult home lives or stuff going on that is too difficult for them to process, they don't know how to respond or to behave, and they feel like they have no power. So they go to the school and they try to find some way to regain some sense of control over
Mm.
themselves. And I said, it really isn't about you. It could have
Yeah.
been anybody. So
Right.
it has nothing to do with your height or your strength or your talent or your looks or anything about you at all, because it's
Yeah.
not about you, it's about that person.
Yeah.
And I said, when I was going to the school, I didn't care who it was that I picked on. I didn't have any particular targets. I just wanted to feel a little bit more in control.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it made me feel better when I knocked somebody down.
Sure.
And I said, so this boy that's bullying you, he's probably got some things going on, possibly at home. I can't say for sure,
Mm.
but know that that's not you, and that's not on you, and that's not not your burden to bear.
Yes.
And so he, wiped his eyes and he understood. He asked me a couple more questions, whatever. So anyway, fast forward, my son befriends this boy, and I remember when he invited him to his birthday party. I didn't know that he had befriended the boy at this time, but he invited him to his birthday party. But
Oh,
I
okay.
knew the boy because
Yeah.
I knew that boy. And I
Sure.
was like, no, that boy cannot come to the party. and,
Yeah.
and
Right.
he said, but he's my friend. And I said, how, wasn't this kid the bully? And he said, he's not bully anymore. You were right. His dad beats him at home,
Oh.
and I'm his only friend.
Mm.
You have to invite him to my party.
Wow.
And so obviously I said yes
Yeah.
and let
Yeah.
him come to the party.
Yeah.
But it was a lesson we both learned, right? You know, my
Wow.
son learned that his value wasn't determined by someone else's problems, that his
Yeah.
value was his value regardless of what someone else said or did or whatever.
Yeah.
And I had to learn um, to let go a little bit.
Well, yeah,
And
you want
trust.
to protect, right? Protect,
Yes, I
Yeah.
did not want him to be hanging out with that little boy, but I was the problem because I wanted to keep him from growing, right? And
Yeah.
I had to step back
Right.
and say, okay, if your choice was to
Yeah.
defend this, to befriend this boy,
Wow.
then
Yeah.
he can come to the party.
Yeah. And how was I hope the birthday party was good. Was it
Yeah,
okay?
he had a great birthday party. The kid
Yeah.
was nice, and they played well together,
That's
and
awesome.
it was like they were never enemies to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I'm
Isn't that
not saying
cool?
that this could happen to everybody. Don't get me
Right.
wrong,
Right.
but
Exactly.
it
Yeah.
happened to my son.
Yeah. That's cool. That's a nice ending kind of to that story. Yeah, I like that. Um, you have a point in here about breaking cycles in your family and redefining identity. Do you feel
Yes.
like that we've talked about that in the book, or did you want to share
So
anything in particular
yeah.
about that?
So, sorry.
No,
So
it's okay.
I talk about it in the book, but I don't think we talked about it too much here. I mean, with that scenario with my son, yes. But like one of the things that I wanted to make sure I did not do was I wanted to be a different parent um, from the way that my parents were towards me.
Right.
I wanted to keep all the good bits, and
Yeah.
get rid of all the bad bits because they're not, it wasn't all bad, right?
Sure.
Sometimes we glamorize it and make it sound like, it was all doom and gloom. Maybe there were some moments where it wasn't all doom and gloom for you.
Yeah.
If you really think about it, there were
Yeah.
some good nuggets and moments in there. Cherish those, right?
Right.
And then, so take the good and then, you know, instill those positive things and create and form new good bonds with your children. So I've raised my children to both be very independent minded. I also didn't never spoke down to them. I always spoke to them like uh, small adults, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Raising adults, like raising
Raising
adults.
adults.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
like
what
I
my
used.
friends say about their kids. I'm like
Yes,
raising
yes,
adults. Yeah, yeah,
yes,
that works, right? Yeah,
yes. We used big words intentionally because then there were teaching opportunities because we teach them those words and then they knew those words.
yeah,
Rather than dumb things down for them and make things simple, we made them just a little bit more complex in the beginning. And
yeah,
then as they grew up, they stayed above and they understood things that were more complex later on because
cool,
their minds were already adjusted to that idea of thinking complex structures. And
right,
so that's why both of my daughter's in high school now. She loves the sciences, and my son is in engineering. So he's in college. So they're brilliant minds, and I don't think that I could have cultivated brilliant minds if I didn't believe in them enough as young people
mm-hmm.
to help them to see their full potential, to see
Yeah,
that they had brilliant minds and they could handle these tougher conversations and these tougher things.
sure,
And I didn't have to say, just wouldn't want a baba. I didn't have to do all that.
yeah,
Now, you know, maybe I could have, but I chose a different path. And
yeah,
that's my path. I'm not suggesting anyone else follow my path. I think we all
yeah,
walk our own path. So
right,
um, I don't teach follow Jen. I teach follow yourself and make your choices based on your agency.
yeah, 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 yeah. I'm with you. I do a cancer journey coaching and patient advocate stuff with people, and that's what I do. Is, I'm like, well, similar in that situation, then that was similar to me. This is what I did, and these were the options that I had, and if any of those work for you, or if you want to use those, take whatever part that you need and you put it into your formula and you make it work, because you're the person that's been inside there
Yep.
longer than anyone else has, and you know what you
Exactly.
want more than anyone else has, and no one can read your mind. And so I am honored if you want to take a piece of what I did and put it in yours and make it yours. That's that gets you winning.
Yes.
What I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, don't do this pitfall like I did, but you ain't got to do it exactly like I did either. So
Yep.
you want to get there, and these are some of the steps that I took to get there. So if you need one or two of those steps, take them. If you don't, then don't step like that.
Yes.
I mean, and because in the end, right, for me, I just want the people that I work with, like, to be the cancer event. I mean, that's my bottom line. But some people, they're just like, look, I just can't deal with this billing department. And I'm like, let me bulldog them, okay? You do your health, and let me go fight that battle, because that's part of the whole game with the health system, right?
Yeah.
Make you so tired by the time you get there, you're like, whatever you say, doc.
All right, I know her.
It's so bad. It's so tough.
Oh my gosh, that's so real. Yes.
Yeah. When you're sick and you're tired and you're beat and you're everything, and that's when they want to get the most complicated on you.
Yes.
It's tough, man. But gosh, well, like, we've been going for an hour-ish, and hey, it's all good. Is there anything else you want to share about the book, or anything that we haven't covered? I mean, I don't mind at all.
Oh wow. So with the book, let's see. So we've talked about the agency. We've talked about trying to remember. So a part of me is struggling a little bit because I just finished working on book number 2.
Oh,
so
okay.
the Impossible Shift is going to be a trilogy, right?
Oh, wow. Cool. Okay.
And so I'm kind of, because I was just actively working on book 2, I'm getting my stories between book 1 and book 2 kind of mixed up in my head. Okay. And I don't want to give away my book 2 content.
Okay. No problem. No worries. It's all good. It's all good.
I'm probably giving away all my book 2 content.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm going to keep it a secret. Will you do something? Will you tell me, you said agency a few times. Will you break that down and tell us what you mean? You said it earlier in the podcast, like, what I mean by agency is this. Would you say it again for me? So what you mean?
So agency is yourself, right? Your control over yourself and your person, who you are and what you represent, and what your basically your wholeness, right? The whole that is you. Your agency is your
like the me, myself, and I, and my emotions and my feelings and everything.
That's all your.
It's like all of my bits and pieces,
right? To protect. Yeah. So you're talking about your agency. You're protecting all of that, right? And
gotcha.
So when you are making your choices, you are basically exerting that agency, right? Because you're making your choices with awareness. So oftentimes we make choices without awareness, right? Where we're at a tip, you're at a register, and the tip thing shows up, and it's like 15, 18, 20%. You don't freaking know if all they did was make you a coffee. Was that 20%? Did they just made you a coffee? Is that 15%? Is it 18%? You don't know. So you're not making a choice based on any.
Yeah.
What is a smile? What are you basing it on, right? So you just pick a number randomly. Most people will pick it based on their budget or whatever, and you go about your day. There's no you're not really making you're making a choice, but you're not really making a choice there, right? But an area where you could make a choice, you're in that same restaurant, and you're going through the door, and an old lady is behind you. You have a choice. You can let the door go and keep going about your business, or you can hold the door for her. That's a choice, right? Now you can decide, all well within your rights. There's no law that says you have to hold that door open, right? So at that point, your choice is going to determine your agency, right? I'm going to let the door go. We now know who you are. I'm going to hold the door. We also know who you are. You've shown us, right, that who you are by whether or not you held open the door. And no judgment. I'm not going to tell you which was right or wrong. You know.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
But it's the same kind of idea as you go about your day. And so when you start becoming more attuned and more aware of the fact that you're making choices, even if you don't realize you're making choices, then when you start triggering that I'm making a choice right now, then it becomes more of a mindful thing. And that's where your agency comes in, because you're now being more mindful about what you are doing. And so do I choose to say that snarky comment to my coworker, or do I choose to hold my tongue?
Yeah.
Which one am I going to choose? It's a choice.
Yeah.
But you now are aware.
Your awareness, you have the awareness, and you and you verify that with what are my values, what are my ethics, what are my emotions, what is the situation, and then kind of, I like to call it me, myself, and I. Then we all agree. And to me, that's kind of like the agency.
Yes.
Because if me doesn't agree with I, then we got a conflict.
Yes.
So I got to get all of them on the same page, right?
And sometimes you're having that argument with in your head really fast, split second, right? Because in the moment with the coworker situation, you got to make a decision very quickly. Are you going to make a response snarky, or are you going to not say anything? So in your mind, you're thinking, what are my values? That person really said something that ticked me off and made me very upset. I really want to respond snarkily to them. Sure. How will that impact my values?
Right. Yeah.
It will not. Okay, then I'll be snarky. It will. Okay, then I'm not going to be snarky.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But you do it with like you said, I like your thing, me, myself, and I. You do it with all of you being involved in the conversation, not just your emotion, not just the emotion that wants to trigger happy. Oh, well, I know she didn't. Let me just.
Yeah. Yeah.
Want to take this outside, right? We can't always do that.
Yeah. Awesome. So where all can people get your book? Is Amazon the main place? I know you have a website, right?
Yeah. I have a website. I have it exclusively on Amazon for, I guess, another 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah. So it'll be exclusively on Amazon, and then maybe other places after that.
Cool. So The name of the book is The Impossible Shift by Jennifer Benson. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And guys, in the description, the book link should already be there, and in the post and things, it will be there. Jen's website is in there, but would you tell us what's your website? Can you tell us what it is?
Oh, jennifersbenson.com.
Okay, jennifersbenson.com.
Yeah,
You can get the book, and she's on YouTube and LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook. How do people get in touch with you if they want to talk to you?
Instagram is the best way to reach me. Just
okay, that's your okay.
Me through Insta. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I hope I didn't miss this or anything, but do you do coaching, or do you do any advisory stuff with the book, or yeah, like you're kind of in the middle of transitioning into something, or?
Yeah, so I do offer coaching, but I offer it in seasons. So I don't offer it during the winter season for my health reasons, but once spring and summer roll around, I'll be opening it up. But cool. With my coaching is a little different from like traditional coaching, because I don't look for long-term clients, and I know a lot of coaches like the longer term clients. I want to keep you and get you going in like 3 months. I think that you would have enough information and autonomy to do that yourself within 3 months, to have a solid framework to move forward. I don't want to be a crutch. I want to be a guide.
Yep. So, and can I ask you, like, what kind of coaching do you call it? Like, I call myself a cancer journey coach, right? Is it? Yeah. What kind of coaching do you call it?
I consider it transformational coaching.
Okay. Transformational. Right.
Yeah.
It's not, transformational. Okay. Like, helping a person work on themselves. Right. And improve themselves. Right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
But I definitely want someone to come on board that is already open to the mindset shift.
Yeah.
I don't want someone to come to me and say, "Oh, my life is so miserable and everyone is to blame but me. Can you fix me? Can you fix it?" And I can't do that.
Yeah. I filter. I go through a set of kind of questions that I,
and I'll have to pick your brain on how to effectively
no filter. Problem. We can talk about that. Yeah, we can talk about that offline, but you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And I think that it's selfish for people to do that when they aren't, because then you're wasting your time on somebody that's not going to get anywhere when you have a goal to genuinely help people. And, basically, you got yourself a donkey, and I don't do those. So if you want to be that way, then you can be that way by yourself. And if you change, well, but you're right. You have to be open-minded, and you need to be willing. And if you can't do that, you can go whine to somebody within your network, then you can go pay for some medication if you need it. Or whatever. I mean, like, I'm with you. You can't make people want it. You can't. You have to want it. And it's not easy. It's not easy to change. And it's not easy to build those neural pathways. And it's always the hardest in the beginning. And then it gets easier, like anything and everything in life. There's nothing secret about this process and this formula. It's just hard work, and it's consistency, and it's resiliency, and it's keeping, and it's having a little grace with others and yourself.
Exactly.
And integrity with others and yourself, right? I mean, it's all those things, right? And it ain't like you're going to go to Google and you're going to Google it, and in 5 minutes you're going to fix it. Because I bet you it took you quite a while to get yourself into this crack. And so...
Thank you. That's what I'm saying.
So, like, if it took you that long to get in, if it takes you half as long, half the amount of time to get out, you won. That's what I think. That's what I think.
Yeah.
That's what I think. If it took you 10 years to get in it and you get out
5
of it
years to get out.
in 1 or 2,
Not
you
bad.
beat it, right? Because you could have took you in, like how you just dumbassed yourself into it. And hey, you know what? I know, man. I am a knucklehead hardhead, right? I had to get cancer 3 times to figure it out. 3rd time woke me up finally. Ridiculous, you know? But hey, you know, it is what it is, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful for what I have and where I've gotten to and the things, and you know, I'm handicapped from cancer. I am legitimately, I have a leg shorter than the other. I'm on a cane permanently. I was on crutches 5.5 years. I mean, I have half of my pancreas and spleen removed because they told me I had cancer and I didn't, and they cut that out. And I mean, I had mismedication of medical mismanagement of my medication. I was suicidal because they wouldn't give me my meds outside of the hospital, and I couldn't get back in the hospital because they had discharged me. And it was, I mean, yeah, I could go on and on and on about everything. And so we have a choice, right?
Yeah.
We have a choice. We're gonna be pissy pants, or we're gonna be party pants. I don't care. I'm gonna try to be party pants most of the time.
Love it. I love it.
Well, hey, before I take us out, I just want to. Anything else? Last word? Anything else you want to share? Any website, or we did the book? Anything else?
No, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I really enjoyed this time together today.
Me too. Thank you so much. Hey, stick around. Let me take us out, and then stick around for a minute after we go off here. So, guys, hey, wrapping up another Conquerors crew. God bless, Godspeed, and never forget that grit don't quit. We're out.